It's strange, isn't it? How a seemingly ordinary piece of technology, a baby monitor, could unravel the fabric of an entire life. I'm 35, and I thought I had everything figured out. My wife, Naomi, and I had been together for almost 7 years, ever since that fateful night at a local fair where I asked her out. It felt like destiny. Our relationship was a good one, solid even. Sure, we had our ups and downs, but what couple doesn't? We were the picture of happiness, or at least I thought we were. For years, we weren't in any rush to have a child. We wanted to enjoy our youth, to be carefree for as long as we could. But last year, things shifted. Naomi got pregnant. Our daughter was born at the start of the year, and I'll never forget that feeling, holding her in my arms for the first time. Nothing in this world compared to that moment. Parenthood, however, isn't easy. It's relentless. The constant attention required, the demands, the sleepless nights, it ties you down in ways you can't imagine until you're living it. We didn't have the luxury of dependable family nearby, so it often felt like we were on our own. Naomi runs a little flower shop just down the street from our home. It's been her dream for as long as I've known her. Creative, artistic, she's always had an affinity for flowers. After my uncle passed, I took over his old store, and Naomi jumped at the chance to set up her business. She loves it. It's the perfect fit for her, and I'm happy to help. The best part? The location. It's ideal. As for me, I work remotely, which allows me to be flexible with my time, to support her when I can. One day, while Naomi was at the shop, I found myself browsing online and stumbled across a baby monitor. It was a small thing, inconspicuous even. But it felt like a solution to our problem, giving us a little freedom, a chance to step out for a bit. It seemed harmless, even responsible. I knew Naomi hadn't agreed to it, but I figured I'd win her over eventually. So, without much thought, I clicked buy. It arrived the next day, and as soon as Naomi left for work, I set it up. The camera was discreet, hidden just enough to go unnoticed unless you were looking for it. It connected to the Wi-Fi, allowing me to check in on the baby through my phone. It felt good to have that little piece of reassurance, like I could step away for a moment without risking anything. And then, the next day, something unexpected happened. I had a rare few hours to myself, time to run errands without the weight of parenthood hanging over me. Naomi, exhausted from the week, begged me to take the baby with me so she could have some alone time. I was disappointed, but this wasn't the first time she'd asked. I'd said no before, so this time, I agreed. I packed everything up, took the baby, and set out. The errands were going smoothly, my daughter was calm, and I was starting to enjoy the rare moment of freedom. That was until my phone buzzed. A notification from the baby monitor app. At first, I thought it was nothing. Maybe Naomi had gone into the baby's room, I told myself. But when I opened the app, my blood ran cold. There, on the screen, was my wife, Naomi, locked in a struggle with another man. At first, I thought she was in danger. It looked like an assault. My heart pounded in my chest as I fumbled with my phone. I rushed to start my car. But then something stopped me. The sounds. The unmistakable sounds that told me everything I needed to know. I could feel the air leave my lungs. My wife wasn't being assaulted. She was kissing this man. Their bodies tangled in a way that made my stomach churn. I couldn't look away. Even as everything in me screamed to stop, to turn off the app, I couldn't. I was paralyzed, watching a nightmare unfold before my eyes. I recorded the screen, not knowing why. Maybe it was to prove to myself that this was real, to give me some kind of evidence of this betrayal. But I saw more than I could ever unsee. I watched as this man's hands slid under her blouse, his intentions clear. And then, even worse, Naomi's moan cut through the air, sealing the horror of it all. My mind screamed at me to drive home, to confront them both, to destroy them. I wanted to smash my phone, to hit something, anything. But I couldn't. I couldn't risk my daughter being in harm's way. My baby, asleep in the back seat. She was the only thing that kept me grounded, the only reason I didn't do something I'd regret. I had to sit there, helpless, watching the worst thing I could imagine unfold in my own home. My wife, with another man, in my daughter's room. In the room meant for her innocent sleep. How could she? How could this happen? I wanted to scream, but I knew I couldn't. I couldn't let anyone hear me, least of all my baby. The room went empty before I could react. Naomi and the man disappeared. I felt like I had been hollowed out, but I didn't know what to do. I just sat there, waiting for my daughter to wake up, knowing nothing would ever be the same again. I was supposed to be running errands, but the day had turned into something completely different. The places I needed to go were closed, leaving me with just one last thing on my list. Why did I go ahead with it? Maybe I needed the distraction, anything to keep my mind from spiraling into the nightmare that was waiting for me at home. I knew deep down that facing her would tear me apart, but avoiding it felt even worse. I couldn't stay away for too long, though, and so I drove back. When I walked through the door, Naomi looked concerned, asking why I was back so late. I threw together some flimsy excuses, the kind that barely made sense even to me, but she bought it. Inside, though, I was seething. I wanted to confront her, I needed to confront her, but the words wouldn't come. My emotions were a chaotic storm, and I had to bottle them up. I waited. I waited until the house was silent, and she had drifted off to sleep. I sat there in the living room, staring into the darkness, trying to piece my thoughts together. 2 days have passed since then, and I feel like I'm on the edge of losing myself. I'm teetering between anger and heartbreak, both so overwhelming that I'm struggling to keep my composure. I have evidence, undeniable proof, and it makes everything worse. Naomi noticed the baby monitor, and I told her it was a new purchase, nothing more, nothing to give away my suspicions. But it's the image of what I saw on that screen that haunts me. And now, I'm stuck in this horrible limbo, trying to figure out if confronting her is even the right thing to do. Should I just blow everything up now, or should I sit on it and plan my next move with logic? Every step I take is drenched in emotion, and I can feel myself unraveling. Tell me what you think. Am I just an idiot for not rushing home when I had the chance? Edit, maybe I am an idiot for not going back right away. I get it now. But here's the thing, I wasn't in any condition to face Naomi and the man she was cheating with. I had our daughter with me, and bringing her into that situation would have been dangerous. That thought alone kept me grounded, even as everything in me screamed to do something, anything. I'm thankful she was there, because otherwise, I might have done something irreversible. Edit 2, the feedback is loud and clear. Everyone says I need to confront her, and that's exactly what I'll do. Tomorrow morning. No more waiting, no more holding it in. I can't live with this silence any longer. As for checking her phone, I don't think that's the right approach. I need to confront her directly, face to face. I'm done with the games. It's funny how life throws you off course. Parenting, they say, is about diapers, late-night feeds, the never-ending laundry. But whoever mentioned the part about a baby monitor revealing the darkest twist of all? Who could have imagined that the thing meant to keep my child safe would expose a betrayal so vile, so heart-stopping, that I couldn't look at my wife the same way again? And the place she chose, our daughter's room? Isn't that supposed to be a sanctuary? Instead, it became the backdrop for a betrayal that I couldn't even fathom. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect her to be the one to break my trust. The room that was supposed to be filled with lullabies and love was instead tainted by her and another man. My daughter's crib, the innocent centerpiece of her world, was desecrated in the worst possible way. I don't think I'll ever be able to look at it the same. Update, so, I finally confronted Naomi. I wish I could say that it was cathartic, that I felt a sense of justice in those words I finally said. But no! The hurt is still there, and I don't know if it will ever leave. That morning, I gave her an hour before I asked her to sit down. She could tell something was off, but I stayed silent, letting the weight of my silence speak louder than any words. When I told her about the baby monitor, she looked confused. I just kept quiet, letting her puzzle over what I was saying. The moment it clicked for her, the realization that I knew, that was when her face drained of color. Her hands went to her mouth, and she sat there frozen, completely speechless for what felt like an eternity. It took everything I had not to jump in and force her to talk. But I needed to hear it from her. Why? Why did you cheat on me? Why in our daughter's room? Her response? Tears. Desperate, broken sobs. She tried to talk, but all I could hear was incoherent mumbling. I asked again. This time, the silence between us felt suffocating. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, she managed to mutter that the man was nobody important, but of course, I wasn't buying that. I pushed further. Who was he? She broke down even more. The tears kept coming. At this point, I was furious, but I needed an answer. And then, after what felt like hours, she told me he was some guy who came by the store to buy flowers for his wife. His wife. Can you believe that? She was cheating on me with a married man in our daughter's room. The irony wasn't lost on me. This wasn't just any affair. It was an affair with a man who wasn't even single. I pressed her again for his name. At first, she claimed she didn't know it, but I wasn't fooled. She knew. She always knew. Finally, she gave in and told me his name. I mentally filed it away for later. Then I asked the question that still haunts me, why in our daughter's room? Her answer, the one that made me want to scream, was beyond infuriating. She said I hadn't even waited for her approval before buying the baby monitor. That's what you're focused on. I could hardly believe it. As if the problem here was the monitor and not the fact that she'd been unfaithful in the one place I thought was safe. I lost it. I called her pathetic. I was disgusted by her audacity, her complete lack of remorse. After all of that, she broke down again, and honestly, it felt like a small victory. A tiny one, but one nonetheless. I don't feel better, though. I still feel betrayed. And I know the path ahead is going to be long and painful. After everything that had happened, it felt impossible to regain my sense of normalcy quickly. How could it? What I had gone through wasn't something that could be shaken off in a heartbeat. But, for the first time in what felt like ages, there was a slight lightness. Maybe it was the weight of it all being lifted, even if just a little. Naomi was gone. Kicked out of the house. But now what? The divorce was inevitable, no question about it. But still, that didn't feel like enough. I needed more, something beyond just the legal process. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she had done, to hurt like I had. But how? How could I make that happen? I was desperate for answers. Every suggestion was welcome. Months have passed since then, and here I am, happier than I've been in ages. I'm the guy from the post about catching my wife, Naomi, cheating through a baby monitor. You all remember that, right? Well, I'm back with what should be the final update to this story. I'd spent hours reading through your comments, taking every single word to heart. And I carefully, deliberately crafted a plan. First step? The divorce. That was easy. My best friend's wife happens to be an incredible divorce attorney, and she got to work the day I confronted Naomi. I had the video evidence in hand, and I was told it would play a huge role in the trial. Naomi's little plan had been laid bare for all to see. She had asked me to take the baby that day, and I knew it was no coincidence. She had orchestrated it. And if that wasn't bad enough, it was clear this wasn't the first time. Once the papers were ready, I made sure the delivery was done right. I had them sent to Naomi's work address, the same corner shop she used for her business. I wanted her to be humiliated, and I wasn't about to make it easy. I wasn't there when it happened, but I could imagine her embarrassment as the papers were served. I hoped the customers saw it all unfold. Naomi called me that day, begging to talk. But I wasn't interested. There was nothing left for us to say, nothing but endless apologies, and I didn't need to hear those. The divorce proceedings came next. Naomi's lawyer came after the store first, an asset I had inherited after my uncle's death. It was the most valuable thing we had. Naomi didn't care about the car we had or the rented apartment. She was fixated on the shop. The judge saw right through it, though. My lawyer argued that giving Naomi the shop would be rewarding her bad behavior, and I wasn't about to set that kind of precedent. In the end, I kept the apartment. I gave up the car, mainly so it would be easier for drop-offs and pickups with the child. The custody battle wasn't as smooth as I'd hoped, but I could live with joint custody. And best of all, I didn't have to pay Naomi a dime. Her infidelity had played a significant part in the judgment, and I was thankful for that. Then there was John Carpenter, the man Naomi had cheated on me with. I found him easily. Facebook was a goldmine. It took minutes to find his wife, and when I messaged her, I told her everything. At first, she didn't believe me. But once I showed her the video evidence, she had no choice. We spoke for a while, and after some consoling, she admitted she was going to confront him. That made me happy. As for Naomi, I wasn't done with her just yet. I gave her one final gut punch. I walked into the store and told her she had 30 days to vacate. This wasn't a phone call, this wasn't a text. I faced her, in person, more than a month after the divorce. She was caught off guard, her tears flowed freely, and she even offered to start paying rent. I didn't budge. I wasn't about to make her my tenant. No, I needed to crush her business. It wasn't about the money. It was about principle. I didn't want her to have anything. She could try to rebuild her life, but not here. Not on my terms. As of now, that store is empty. Naomi's Instagram says it's closed for renovation, but I know the truth. It's done. She's trying to save face, but she's failing miserably. She's called me 3 times in the past month, begging for forgiveness, asking to use the store again. But I won't give in. Not now. Not ever. This feels like the happiest I've been in a long time, even though it came through revenge. It's bittersweet. I shouldn't have to find satisfaction in this, but I do. The pain she caused me, it still lingers, but seeing her struggle just a little bit, that brings me a strange sense of peace. Sometimes, life's just cruel like that. You've turned the tables, haven't you? What a masterstroke, serving Naomi those divorce papers at her own workplace. That's the kind of revenge we all secretly crave. And then the store, denying her the chance to pay rent? Absolute power move. I can almost hear the echoes of your laughter as the shop sits empty. Her Instagram post is pure desperation, a sad attempt at saving face. You're right, though, living well is the best revenge. You've got this, and you're stronger than ever. I can't wait to hear how things turn out for you, but keep this in mind, you've already won.